What happens if the U.S. ends birthright citizenship? Let's talk real world consequences. So, if the U.S. repeals or undermines birthright citizenship, yes, millions of children born to either undocumented or temporary status immigrants could be at risk of becoming stateless, depending on their parents' citizenship and the laws of their parents' countries as well. That's not hypothetical. That's a humanitarian crisis in the making. But what does stateless even mean? It means that a person is not recognized as a citizen by any country. That means no passport, no legal identity, no access to education, healthcare, or work in many countries. Often, no path to fixing it as well. And stateless is already a massive problem globally, which you may not know. And here are some real world examples. Dominicans of Haitian descent. Cue Dominican people in my comments calling me a Vendepatria. In 2013, the Dominican Republic retroactively stripped citizenship from thousands born to Haitian immigrants, leaving generations stateless in a country that they've known as home their entire lives. Rohingya in Myanmar, I may be saying that wrong, denied citizenship under the 1982 law, even though many families have lived in Myanmar for generations. They've faced genocide and live in camps as well. Kuwaiti Bidun, long term residents not granted citizenship, unable to access government jobs or higher education. Children of Syrian refugees in countries like Lebanon or Jordan, often unregistered due to lack of documentation or legal status of the parents. Roma communities in Europe as well. Some live stateless due to historic discrimination and lack of documentation. Palestinian people as well. Palestinians are one of the most prominent examples of long term, large scale statelessness in the world. Over 5 million Palestinians in the West Bank, Gaza, East Jerusalem, and the global diaspora face complicated and often stateless realities, depending on where they were born or forced to flee. And here's how: sometimes no passport, no protection, Gaza and the West Bank. While many Palestinians here hold Palestinian Authority ID cards, they're not recognized as citizenship by much of the world, and certainly not by Israel. They cannot travel freely, have no voting rights in Israel, policies that control their lives, and face constant movement restrictions. East Jerusalem Palestinians as well, many are considered permanent residents by Israel, not citizens, meaning that they can lose their status if they live abroad for too long. Palestinians in Lebanon as well, most are stateless refugees. They can't own property, can't work in many professions, and are denied access to government services. They've lived this way since 1948. Palestinians in Syria and Jordan. In Syria, many Palestinians once held refugee documentation but lost it during the civil war, becoming doubtly stateless. In Jordan, some are citizens, but others, specifically those from Gaza, are not and are denied equal rights. What caused this for the Palestinians? Well, the Nakba. 1948, over 700,000 Palestinians were displaced when Israel was established, and many fled to neighboring countries and were never granted citizenship where they settled, and as well as lack of a recognized Palestinian state. International community remains divided on the recognition of Palestine as a full sovereign state. As a result, many Palestinians have no legal nationality. Could this really happen in the US? And that's why I always say that we are all connected, whether we want to admit it or not, whether we want to get our head out of the sand or not. We are all connected. And while the odds, I'm not sure what they are, we can all agree that the rhetoric is rising. Birthright citizenship is enshrined in the 14th Amendment, ratified in 1868. Overturning it would require either one of these two things: a constitutional amendment, which would need two-thirds of Congress and three-fourths of states, or a reinterpretation by the Supreme Court. Now, while the Supreme Court didn't end birthright citizenship with its ruling, it did leave the interpretation open. Let me explain that a little bit. So, it basically said that if a district court blocks a federal policy like an executive order attempting to end birthright citizenship, that ruling may only apply in that circuit or region. Other courts could come to different conclusions in other region. So it doesn't end birthright citizenship, but it does like patchwork or fracture its enforcement, meaning that a baby born in California, right, to either a temporary a resident, a temporary an undocumented parent, or somebody with temporary residency in the United States may be considered a U.S. citizen. However, baby born the same day in Texas, can that judge, that circuit court, could say no because the parent is not, the baby is not. So that's why it's murky now, and it has become kind of like this patchwork thing now, because courts in each state can interpret the federal EO differently. And now the Supreme Court is saying that no nationwide order can stop it across the board, which is legal chaos. And that is what the article on AmericanImmigrationCouncil.org is saying. Political figures argue that children of undocumented immigrants are not subject of the jurisdiction that is being presented, or that's being told or named in the Constitution of the United States, and therefore shouldn't be citizens. This currently is not acceptable by the courts, but it's a real enough threat that should be monitored. And why this matters, I mean, I keep saying it, we're all connected. But removing birthright citizenship doesn't just target undocumented immigrants, it undermines the universality of the universality of equal protection under the law. It then creates like this second class generation, often based on race, class, and origin. And if implemented, this is what we will see: more people with no legal status, born and raised here, generational trauma and poverty, increased surveillance of immigrant families, disproportionate impact on Latinos, Black, and Asian communities. The idea of repealing birthright citizenship isn't just a policy shift, it's a threat to basic human rights and the concept of equality in the U.S. It would introduce statelessness to a country that has always promised otherwise, at least on paper. So we should pay attention to this, because this is so much more than just documents. It's about dignity.